Welcome, Adam Gall, to Building on Blockchain. I really appreciate you having you on. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So, I'm hoping you could explain a little bit about your background story and what your life was like before you got into crypto and blockchain, and how that industry and how that got introduced to you.
Sure thing. So I'll try and keep it short. But I've always been I guess, technologist. So after school, I worked at a couple different jobs. Ended up spending a lot of time at a small boutique design and development shop up in Cleveland, Ohio. And I learned a lot about how to build new software companies, being a good, I guess, consultant in terms of like building software products. And while there, I really dove into understanding Bitcoin. I had always been interested in Bitcoin at a very high level. Like I first read about it online in, I don't know, like 2011 or something. Ended up buying about $100 worth and then selling it all like a couple months later. I think I made $20 overall. Should have held on to those. And I really just didn't. I just didn't get it. I was like fresh out of college. I didn't know much about how the world worked, or even much about how big software systems worked. And I just didn't get it. It seemed interesting. I didn't get it though. And then a couple years later, when I was working at this other job, I was a lot better at writing software and understanding software systems. I saw, on TV, Bitcoin was like $400, and I was like, I bought those for $1 each a long time ago, like, and then sold them. I got to figure out how this works. What is this? What is this thing? And so I spent, gosh, must have been like a year and a half, just like reading everything I could. I like fell deep into the rabbit hole, just a lot of just self-study, read everything I could. Finally, eventually it started to click. And yeah, and then, I guess that leads into the next part is, how did I get to where I am now? Well, I really just fell in love with Bitcoin. At this job I had, I met, a guy named Parker McCurley, and he also was a big fan of Bitcoin. I started a crypto meetup in Cleveland, a lot of just education. Every month it would just be about a different part of Bitcoin or a different part of crypto, and I would study so that I could teach other people about it. That really solidified a lot of my own knowledge about how these systems work. And then, unfortunately, fortunately, that job that I had ran out of money. The company went under, and Parker and we decided to, it's like, we both really love this Bitcoin thing, this blockchain thing. It's very interesting to us. There's a lot of hype right now. It was the end of 2017 is when this happened. So like hype was huge. Everything was popping off. We were like, let's not go get jobs. Like, let's just do what we do what we're good at, building software for people, but like pivot that and make that be our niche in the crypto space. And we've been running with that ever since. So Decent Labs is our company. We've been around for about 3 years now. Definitely didn't know anything about starting or running a business when we started. Neither one of us are, business majors or anything.
Sure.
And yeah, it was tough. We're definitely like cockroaches. Like, we survived. This year has been really great for us. Like, we're finally figuring out, what it takes to run a good business, and we're growing our team. We're getting a lot of really great clients. We partner with a lot of very big names in the crypto space. We're building a lot of really cool stuff right now.
That's so awesome. I'm very excited to hear
Yeah.
that. It's great to see you guys take an entrepreneurial leap like that. You find something that you have a hobby in, something you have an interest in, and find a way to match that with an opportunity and create something that wasn't there before for yourself and for other people.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
Thank you.
I love seeing that. Now, if you could just expand on one of those ideas, I'm curious, when you first got into the crypto and the Bitcoin and the other coins that were popping up, which parts of that excited you the most? Did you get into the cryptography of it? Did you see it as a store of value, like a new form of money, like digital gold? Or were you interested in the investment vehicle aspect of it, or more of a tool to grow other?
Oh boy,
All the
what
above?
a deep question. Yeah, I mean, definitely all of the above. So, I mean, my own, I guess, thoughts and philosophies have definitely shifted a lot. They change all the time about what I think is important in Bitcoin, in crypto, in blockchain. I mean, I definitely I understand the maximalist perspective. The Bitcoin maximalist perspective. I definitely get it. Like a big part of me definitely sees that it is a black hole that will suck information and value for a long time, and therefore spending your time with other stuff doesn't really is a waste of time. But I don't know. It's also hard for me to rectify because I see so much happening in other aspects of blockchain or crypto, and so yeah, I mean, I definitely fell in love initially with the idea of Bitcoin as a payments network. It's like if there's no transactions happening, the blockchain stops being built and working. So of course, transactions need to happen for the whole thing to work. But then the whole maximalist store of value thing is like, well, you shouldn't be doing too many transactions. But then I'm like, well, how does that rectify with the idea that if transactions stop happening? But then, okay, but block space is small, so there's always going to be people doing something, so that's enough. And I don't know. I mean, it's just there's lots of ways to pull on that argument in lots of different directions. And yeah, I mean, shoot, when Bitcoin, I will freely admit, when Bitcoin split in August of 2017, I was waiting for that to happen. All of 2017, I was like, these blocks need to get bigger. Things are getting too expensive. It's crazy. And then it happened. I was so happy. I was a big Bitcoin Cash fan. I was like, Bitcoin, the original chain, is going to die, and people don't get it yet. Of course, I am totally, that argument's totally been invalidated at this point.
Yeah, isn't it
and
great?
I don't know. I mean,
we can live in a world where there's both chains and not just one. We didn't have to pick one or the other. We can have both exist.
Exactly. So that's really cool. I mean, I've definitely flipped my own thoughts around a lot too. I see that, the Lightning Network, which has been around for a while, and it's had a really rocky start. But it's growing every day. There's more and more really cool stuff being integrated into Lightning and being built on Lightning every day. I think that it's just these different layers are happening, and I definitely see myself as more of a falling in line with the whole Bitcoin maximalist point of view. But at the same time, I spend so much of my time building things on the Ethereum network. I spend a ton of time building stuff on Ethereum because there's so much development happening. There's so many developers. There's so many projects. Ton of momentum everywhere. So from a business point of view, it would be really stupid for me just to close my doors to any Ethereum development.
Sure.
And it's all, I mean, it's all very interesting stuff. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but from an investment perspective, I think that, this is my own personal views, but I think that holding top couple of cryptos is probably not a bad idea. I think that there's, spreading that risk around a little bit is probably a safe enough bet.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Even in legacy markets, there's people who argue, oh, this one company will trump all the other companies in this industry. It's not even worth. Don't invest your money in these other companies. This one will swallow them up. And it's to an extent that that the point's valid to an extent, but at the same time, where would you be without alternatives?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's one of the most. Yeah, it's one of the most beautiful things.
I mean, that's the whole point of free markets. Is you can make these things. It doesn't matter. They will exist because because every idea that can happen will probably happen.
I love that. Next question. How has the industry and the landscape changed since you've entered it, and how do you anticipate it will evolve in the future? It sounds like when you first got interested, there wasn't much of an industry. The landscape was probably pretty small, but how would you put that into your own words?
Oh boy, that's a great question. So I remember first getting started with Decent Labs. One of my first clients, we were building a system, Ethereum smart contracts, web app front end, a little server, doing some stuff on the back end, and the tooling was just atrocious. It was very difficult. It was very difficult to be to do all the administrative work around programs, right? So like writing code is much more than just literally writing lines of code. At least for me, like what I do is I deliver software to other teams. That's like a big piece of what I do. So the software that I deliver to other teams, I need to make sure those other teams can use quickly and understand quickly. So I'm a big fan of repeatability, of being able to like hand over a project and have a developer that doesn't know anything about this code base to be able to sit down and within seconds have that thing up and running on their own machine. Like if somebody's sitting there trying to figure out like, how do I set up my development environment, then I have failed as a developer. The tooling plays a huge part in that, right? The tooling around like the frameworks you're using, the packages you're using, the libraries you're using to build stuff is a huge part of that. And like, back, mid 2017, it was really just like Truffle was I think Truffle existed back then. I think I was using a Truffle project, but it was just really tough to use. Wasn't clear how to just like get things set up. I would get lots of like opaque Ethereum based errors trying to do things that were very hard to debug, and it was a rough, rocky development experience. Eventually like you figure it out. You get better at it with experience. But these days there's a ton more there. Truffle is a much more sophisticated piece of software at this point. For those unaware, Truffle is a Ethereum Solidity framework, development framework. So it's a framework you can install on your machine in your project, and it makes it really easy to develop smart contracts, write tests around them, write deployment scripts to get them on Ethereum mainnet or any testnet or any other EVM-based Ethereum network.
Interesting.
And so anyway, the tooling is just a lot better these days. It's much easier to get started with the Truffle project. There's alternatives to Truffle these days. Waffle is the name of another one that I've been using a lot and really liking lately. And so just the whole development experience is a lot less running into walls and trying to figure out how to get around them. It's a lot smoother these days. So that makes me really happy as an engineer in the space. Just seeing the tooling evolve, it means that there's lots of people who are invested in making this easier and getting more people involved, getting more builders involved. So that's great. I'm really happy about
that's
that.
fantastic. So the more tools and the more efficient these tools become, the faster the landscape can grow, the quicker developers can jump on train and grow this wave.
Exactly, yes.
That's really cool. I'm happy to hear that. Do you think this will continue into the future? Do you think as time passes, this efficiency will get faster and get louder and get more efficient? Or do you see a plateau, or what do you see in the next?
No. I think on any time frame there, I mean, probably long-term time frame, it's going to plateau eventually. But I think that we're definitely it's still a ramp-up phase. There's so many projects like there's one called Create ETH app. It's just like Create React app. Web developers will probably know what Create React app is. There's a thing called Create ETH app. It just makes it super easy to spin up a project, and you've got a front end and Ethereum contracts, and they work together, and then you can just start customizing it. It's really easy. There's a ton of stuff being built there.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Still all the time. I don't really see any slowdown in it. I think that, Bitcoin is getting so much more like big money attention these days. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of like all of these, there's a lot of publicly traded companies pumping millions and millions and millions of dollars publicly into Bitcoin. The Ethereum mainnet just keeps growing. There's like a lot of data being stored on Ethereum mainnet. ETH2 right around the corner, maybe, who knows? We'll see what happens there. But all of these networks keep growing at a very rapid pace. And, I think the cat's out of the bag, however you want to say it, genie's out of the bottle. Like, I don't think there's any stopping these things.
Yeah.
And that's been a core philosophy or a core understanding or thought of mine since it first kind of clicked with me back in 2015, 2016, when I finally things started to click. I was like, oh, these things will never stop. I don't see how Bitcoin will ever stop. there's an incentive. If people like making money, if people like being greedy and making money, Bitcoin will never stop. Like that's how it works. It's built to never stop. It's crazy. It's a very crazy circular thing. I mean, Ethereum is a much more complex of how it works or what it is or what it does. But the core of it, it's the same thing. It's a blockchain. It's a proof of work blockchain. You make money if you participate, and it's like, well, how I don't know. I guess there's lots. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I'm just speculating about the future, of course. But
of course,
it's hard for me to understand a future in which these networks do not continue to play a greater role in society at large.
That's so interesting. One of the things I love, I'm not a developer. I don't look at code. I can't analyze a smart contract. I'm just a mere pleb with a hardcore interest and a fascination behind these projects. So when I get to pick the brain or hear a little bit more about things that happen on the back burner, things that happen behind the scenes, behind the green curtain, it just blows me away, because the more I learn, I'm like, holy cow, that's actually happening right now. Things that I can't figure out as a mere, as an intro monthly trader, so getting an additional perspective in that helps so much. And it's interesting to hear what someone who's engaged in the day-to-day project building aspect of this, what you think about where these projects are going to go. This leads me to another question, kind of quick, kind of branches off of this last one, but if we were to fast forward 100 years, do you think the effect of blockchain tech and cryptocurrencies will be a net positive or a net negative for people around the world? Or will it not matter? Because these projects, the cryptography behind it, as you know, they can be used, the states can use them to enforce their own currency. We can lose freedoms just as quickly as it can give us freedoms we've never had as a people before. What do you think will happen?
Yeah, that's a great question, very deep question. So, boy, I think that, so I've always viewed, I guess, let me talk about cryptocurrencies, and I'll default to Bitcoin. It's the easiest thing to talk about. I've always viewed Bitcoin, not like a blockchain that you build things on top of, but Bitcoin as a new monetary system in which anybody can choose to be a part of it, and it's extremely difficult to get censored from it, right? Like, the main value prop of Bitcoin is that it's a censorship-resistant value transfer mechanism. That's at the end of the day, that's what it's for. It's for people who want to opt out of the traditional systems, and those traditional systems will always exist. Like, there will always be governments. I shouldn't say always, but like, there will probably always be governments.
Yeah, probably.
There will probably always be traditional finance. Systems in place and structures in place. But, as like tracking technology gets bigger, as, central banks come out with their own more digitally native money, they will track the hell out of it, of course, and they will probably stop you from doing transactions that they don't want you to do. And so Bitcoin, I've always viewed as it is the last resort. It is the monetary system of last resort. It is there if you need it. And for now, it's great to speculate on. And I think a lot of people that need it are using it right now, but most of us don't. I don't need Bitcoin. I'm sure you don't need Bitcoin. Yeah. Like, Venmo works great. It all works great. It's cheap. It's really fast, right? So it's like, why do I need Bitcoin? Well, I don't need it yet, but eventually I might. And there's nobody that can stop me from using it in the future if I want to. Like, Venmo could not let me log into Venmo anymore, right? Nobody can really stop me from using Bitcoin. I've got my full node running on my server in the corner of my office here. Like, I can always just use Bitcoin. I don't have to trust anybody else to use Bitcoin. So, in the future, I think that I definitely expect that to be the case. Probably to an extent where, like, the base layer blockchain, so like layer 1, which is what we all use right now. Unless you're using Lightning day to day, you're likely doing Bitcoin transactions in which you're sticking transactions directly into blocks. Like, that will always be the thing that you can use and rely In the future, I expect that like lots of layers get built on top of it, and some of those layers will probably be run by more centralized entities that can censor you if they want to censor you. But at the end of the day, you know, they can all get settled down onto the core layer. But if some of those other layers up top don't like you doing what you're doing, you can always drop down to another layer, and it might cost you more in transaction fees or something. But like there's always the base layer of blockchain that is there for you if you need it. So I hope that it continues. So net negative, net positive, net neutral. I think that the idea that there is now a value, you know, a global value transfer mechanism that exists that people can use if they want, I think that was definitely a net positive for the world. The fact that thing exists now.
Yeah.
You know, whales are going to eat the fish, right? Like plenty of people are going to get burnt trying to trade and make money, and like that's just all inevitable. Mm-hmm. But from a like what society gains from it point of view, I think was a positive, and I think that base layer positive will always be there. Yes. And yeah, I guess that's my answer. Yeah, that's a very long, circular answer. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think on a personal level, I would agree with that 100%. One way that I think about it, to add another dynamic, is I think, okay, well, I don't know about the future, but if we go 100 years in the past, we go back to the days where migration played a way bigger role in society. And I think if you could tell your elders, tell your ancestors that, oh, could you imagine if there would be a global anti-censorship currency that you can use on a whim's notice? I mean, they would have been using it for centuries.
Yeah.
I mean, oppressive governments never knew.
You could memorize some words in your head, and you could you could go across a border with it without having a backpack full of gold or something.
You have to
memorize some words, and you're good.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so this question can be pretty broad, but I'm wondering about the potential of these decentralized cryptos. What kind of potential do these currencies have? Is there potential, or how far of it is realistic?
Well, I mean, I think so much of the space is just very speculative. It's been that way for many years. It's going to be that way, I think, for many more years. I mean, I don't know. I hate to throw this back to you. Can you clarify what you mean by potential? Like potential for what?
Yeah, potential for growth and evolution. Like when we think about, of course, these things will grow and evolve over time. We look at how they have in the past 10 years. It's like looking down the road, in what ways, in what potential, like what can humans do with them? What, to someone who doesn't understand, what are these tools doing for me? It's, well, what could they do in 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, my hope is that Bitcoin and Ethereum, to a lesser degree Ethereum, but definitely Bitcoin, continues to ossify, and it becomes harder and harder to change it. I think that like one argument that you see a lot about Bitcoin is that like it's not updating, it's not changing, like it's an old coin, like there's nothing new happening on it. But like, to me, that's the strongest aspect of Bitcoin, is the fact that it cannot be changed. I think that in such a crazy world that we live in, information is so free right now. It becomes very easy to see how crazy the world is and just how unstable it can all feel. I think that it's really important that Bitcoin continues to go in a direction in which that is a thing that will not change. You can always rely on Bitcoin's blockchain producing a block every 10 minutes. And we know how big it's going to be. And I can estimate out how much hard drive space I'm going to need for the next 10 years to like keep myself sovereign,
Sure.
I think that that's really important, is the stability of Bitcoins, and the ossification of that network and that protocol. And so, what will that provide the world is, I think just like what I'm saying, it will provide the world stability, monetary stability. It will be a new bedrock of what the financial system looks like. I think it's going to take a long time. It's probably going to take another couple decades, but I think that it has kicked off a big change in the way that the world is viewing what financial networks and systems can look like, can be. We've never, before Bitcoin, there was never any concept of, money powered by the people. And now we have that with Bitcoin. It is powered by the people who are a part of the network. And as more people join, it becomes harder to convince any fraction of that people to change it, because everybody just wants it to not change, because that's, at the end of the day, everybody wants stability in their life. So I think that's the direction that it's going in. That's the direction that I hope it keeps going in. And so that's what I see as like potential for the future of Bitcoin. Now, potential for the future of a network like Ethereum, I think is very different. So Ethereum, I think, plays the other side of that coin, in which it is not trying to not change. It is actively trying to push the envelope, push the limits, upgrade out of proof of work into a proof of stake system, play a lot faster and looser with monetary policy. And I think that's fine. It's just a different thing, right? Like, I don't know who said this on Twitter, but I saw somebody say that, Bitcoin is a money and the blockchain is an artifact of that money being a solid thing. Like Bitcoin's blockchain sucks. It sucks that there's this data structure that like keeps growing over and over time. But it's necessary in order to validate that the money is pure and secure and not inflating, right? Like the blockchain is our history there. It's an artifact of what the true value prop. The true value prop is that we all agree on the current state of the network. Anybody can think that blockchain, run through every single transaction that's happened, and come to the final state that everybody else in the world agrees upon. So Bitcoin is a money that the blockchain is like an effect of. Ethereum is the opposite. Ethereum is trying to be a blockchain, and the money aspect of it, Ether, is an artifact of keeping that blockchain growing and secured. So Ethereum is trying to be like, hey, we're a blockchain that is a platform, and you can build lots of crazy stuff on top of it. But like, we need this Ether, we need this ETH in order to incentivize people to like get some rewards for continuing to keep this blockchain going. So they're just coming at it from different points of view. And so with Ethereum, I think that what I think society will benefit out of Ethereum in the future is a more open platform to develop crazy things. And most of those things will fail, like most startups fail, but some of those things will end up being really revolutionary and change how we interact with each other. Like Ethereum is one of those things. It's a network, much like Bitcoin, in which it's very hard to, if you're running a node. I've got an Ethereum node running on the same 10-year-old server as my Bitcoin node. So it's as long as you're running a node and you can interact with that network, you can participate. You can deploy contracts. You can do transactions that interact with smart contracts. And a lot of that stuff is silly. Most of it is, but like some interesting things are being built. I think I'm building some really interesting things on Ethereum. I think there's a lot of really interesting projects out there, and I think that some of them will be really important for the world. Like Uniswap. I think that Uniswap was a revolutionary idea. It's a fully on-chain like exchange. It's not built the same way as most centralized exchanges are, but it allows anybody to trade Ethereum-based assets with each other in a totally trustless manner. Can't be stopped. It's an amazing piece of infrastructure that now exists in the Ethereum network. And so if nothing else happened, and like ENS is great. It's like a decentralized naming system, domain naming system.
Okay.
So, I mean, like, Bitcoin Ethereum addresses these long strings that are hard for humans to parse and comprehend. But the idea that you can tie, an English word or any word you want to a address is really cool. It's like web addresses, right? Like domain names and IP addresses, right? A domain name is just a front for an IP address. An ENS address is just a front for an Ethereum address. And these things just exist and they're out there now. And it's like, those are like core building blocks that people will probably keep building on. I think that's kind of the whole point of, or not point, but the whole idea behind DeFi is that like we're trying to figure out what these building blocks can be that actually have some value so that we can just keep building more interesting stuff on top of it. It might be a giant house of cards at the end of the day. I don't know. But,
It's so
Ethereum, I think that Ethereum is really just trying to say, like, why not keep experimenting and pushing the envelope here? Because the blockchain as a data structure is a very novel thing. And so, like, let's see what we can build with it. So I hope that good stuff comes out of it at the end of the day.
It's amazing. Me too. And your answer gets me so excited. Like, I mean, I'm literally on the moon when I hear a perspective that's talking about, I mean, you have a viewpoint of something. Like, I can never understand the viewpoint from where you're coming from. It'll take me years to understand where you're standing in that spotlight. And it makes me wonder, do you think will this have a snowball effect? The more people that, come together, could this, like, people talk about a hyper Bitcoinization event? Could there be something like a hyper crypto event? Do you think that's possible as these projects grow, like you're talking? Could it swallow us whole?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I mean, I hate to try to like predict what's going to happen in the future. I mean, my own bags are like, yes, absolutely, for sure. Right. Let's keep shilling this, absolutely. I don't know. I mean, I think everything's a risk. I'm not much of an investor. I'm a buy and hold kind of guy. I'm not day trading. I'm not trying to convince other people to buy crypto. Like, I have no idea. I've never once tried to shill people to buy anything.
Good on you. You're a builder.
That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build stuff and invest in things that, from my perspective, I see are like, this is cool. This is going to be bigger in the future, right? Because I feel like I do have a unique perspective as someone who's like very deep into the technology of this stuff.
Absolutely.
As much as Bitcoin is not a technology, it's a money. Like, it's still really interesting to watch the things get built and see how they evolve over time. So I don't know. I think that the snowball effect, it's probably going to be like, it's probably going to take a long time. It's probably going to be like the internet, in which, over the course of 30, 40 years, it's like, I don't know if there was any one event that happened, but like all of a sudden the internet is everywhere, right? Like, I'm talking to you halfway across the country on a video call on our computers. And I mean, internet drives everything. Every company is an internet company at the end of the day, right? Like, if you want to stay competitive in the world, you've got an internet presence and you're doing something on the internet, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, and that didn't happen overnight.
It's true.
It took a long time for all that infrastructure to get into place for it to exist. It took, 40, I mean, late 80s, early 90s was when the web was invented, and we're, 30 years later now, and now it's like, okay, the web is pretty cool. It, like, you can do a lot of really cool stuff on the web. Bitcoin's 10 years old. Ethereum's 5 years old. I think it's probably going to take another couple of decades, but I mean, I don't know. I hate to say that, like, that's where I see it going, but I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I see it going. Is like, I don't see, like I said earlier, I don't see how these things are going to slow down or stop.
Right.
I think it's really hard for anybody or any entity. It's going to be really hard for any entity to put the brakes on these things, on these types of networks, just because of they are built to be censorship resistant. They are built to survive. They're viruses. They're like digital viruses, and they'll just keep spreading. If people like making money, then people will run mining nodes.
Sure.
Yeah. And if you lose money, you'll turn your node off. Difficulty will drop. Eventually, it'll become profitable to turn it back on. Like, they'll just gonna keep going. They're just gonna keep going. I don't know. And I think the value prop of Bitcoin and Ethereum, Bitcoin as a censorship resistant money, I think that will always be necessary in the world somewhere. So I think that there's always going to be some aspect of this network running. I hope that I become hilariously rich and wealthy off of, my meager bags, right? Like,
I
of
hope
course,
so
that would,
too.
I hope the hyper Bitcoinization happens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will. I
It's
mean,
a
who
good,
knows? I think it's
yeah.
going to be a long, gradual process if it does.
Yeah, I think the way you're describing it, it makes a lot more sense than just a single event. Like, at some point in our lives, we all turn around and we're like, "Wow, that felt like one event." But you're like,
Yeah.
it takes decades. Like, there's so many ins and outs that they can't be mapped. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. But a little bit ago, you mentioned projects you are working on, so I want to expand on that just a hair. In what ways would you like to impact the industry over the next several years? Like, what impact would you like to have, where you could turn around and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I helped. That was me. That was part of me. Was that?"
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I'm doing that right now. I spend a lot of my time and energy, building my company Decent and building stuff for Decent. Parker is doing more of the company building, and I'm doing more of the building things for the companies we work with, right? So we work with a bunch of different startups. We partner with startups and other more established companies in the crypto space, and we help them build their stuff, right? And this year has been great for us. We've worked with a lot of really high profile companies. I'm sure you would know many of them. And we've been building some traditional web stuff. Some have been a lot more smart contract based and actual, blockchain based development work. And I'm just learning a ton every day. I'm learning a ton, and I'm contributing to, these networks that have a lot of people and a lot of money invested in them. And I'm making, core system level technology decisions. And I was talking to my wife the other night, like, I'm blown away that people listen to what I say when I'm like, we should build these things this way. And then we've got, teams and lots of money, doing the things that I'm saying. And it's crazy. It's crazy. She's like, well, you're an expert at this stuff. And I'm like, I guess I am. I guess so. I mean, I've been building stuff for a while, and I've been building stuff in the crypto world for, a few years now, full time. And it's great. I guess with how young this industry is, it's really awesome that I'm in the position where I am, where I feel like I do understand a lot about how these systems are put together and sort of where I see they should be going. And then I'm able to drive that and push them in that direction. So I'm very blessed. I'm very happy to be doing what I'm doing these days.
Dude, Adam, I'm happy for you. I think it's absolutely it's fucking amazing, honestly, and to be able to talk to you about to catch you in a moment in time imagine where you'll be in 5 more years. You'll look back and be like, wow, I remember working on that project, and I'm sure there'll be a million new tools. The industry will be 3, 4, 5 times as big. Things keep changing. It's nice to it's nice. Talking about a couple of these projects, I'm curious what an average day of work is like for you. When you sit down, you've got your schedule in front of you. What do you Monday through Friday? What the heck? What does building these projects look like from an outside perspective?
Yeah, for sure. So for most of my time at Decent Labs, so over the last 3 years, I was pretty much our only developer. Not pretty much. I was the only one who was responsible for shipping code. I'll put it that way. So, a lot of my time was and still is just spent programming. I write a lot of code. Our team has grown a lot this year. We've actually got an engineering team now. Really great people who are great at what they do, and so I've fallen more into managing them role. Never thought I would be a manager, but I guess that's just the path you take sometimes. Still write a lot of code, but I'm also helping make sure that the rest of my team is successful. So it's a lot of project scoping, a lot of helping debug stuff, pair programming, just nudging people in the right direction. When they get stuck, I do a ton of just estimations. I mean, right? We partner with startups and help them build stuff. So we are, at the end of the day, we're like a consultant to a lot of our, clients. Sure. We call them co-founders because we take equity positions in a lot of the companies that we work with. So we are very incentivized to see through the work that we do and help the people we work with succeed. That has a direct
awesome.
result in our checking account. So I do a lot of just estimations, a lot of project scoping, a lot of like bigger, higher level system design. I spend a lot of time talking with our co-founders about the systems they're building and scoping out what that project roadmap looks like over the course of weeks and months and sometimes even years. Scoping software out years into the future is always a terrible idea. Just put that out there. Nothing ever goes to plan like that. Small deliverables is way better than big ones. But anyway, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of that. Like, it's definitely not like a sexy life. It's just a lot of just like making sure that the company's going in the right direction and making sure projects are getting done and writing code and scrambling and helping my team out. Do a lot of just like educational stuff with my team. I'm definitely still the most versed in terms of the more crypto native stuff that we do.
Sure.
Any smart contracts that get written, either I'm doing all of that development or I'm very actively helping in that development process. So it's a lot of just like education. I'm trying to like educate my team on how I go about thinking through, what smart contract development is and should look like and how to think through these things and then how to integrate them with other systems like front ends and back ends.
That's awesome. So way more communication than I would have guessed. Sounds like a huge part of this is just the networking, communication, holding the strings together, keep the puppet going.
Definitely a lot of internal communication with my team, and then I've also taken. I'm trying to get more into the sales role for Decent Labs as well. Parker has been. That's been his main objective at Decent Labs over the last couple of years, just getting new clients in. But as my engineering team grows and I can actually like let go of the reins a little bit, I've got more time that I can spend on the sales and marketing front, which as an engineer by trade, I've always just like scoffed at. But it's super important to get money in the door when you're running a business. So I mean, and people are definitely relieved. Not relieved, I don't know. It's always good when both Parker and myself are on the call, right? They like to see that it's more than just, a sales guy. There's also the technology leader who's got a team behind him, and then hearing my perspective always helps a lot. So it makes a lot of sense for our team to keep growing and for me to keep giving more responsibility to the team and just like making sure that that's happening well so that I can do more of like the calls before contracts get signed.
That's awesome.
So yeah, lots of communication.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'm sure you've been working from home long before COVID, huh?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, so we've never. Let's see. We had an office our very first year at Decent Labs. It was super silly thing to do. Is like immediately like signed a lease for a year-long office. Thankfully, it was only a year. But like, yeah, we had an office in Cleveland for like a year, and then did not renew that lease because like, why are we wasting money on an office? There were like 4 of us. And yeah, we've just been working from home. I actually used to go to a co-working space. So I recently moved to South Florida earlier this year, like right in mid-March, like right as lockdown started happening. And so I would go to a co-working space every day in Cleveland, just because, I don't know, I thought that it was good. But I've been working from home down in Florida, and it's great. I love being at home. Like, I'm super productive still. It's like really nice having my family around. I've got 3 little girls, 3 young children, so like that's why I would leave the house to go work every day. But like, no, it's fun having them around. Like, I'm good enough at ignoring them when I'm trying to work. So it's fine. It's nice like having them here. So yeah, I've been working from home. It's great. I mean, it's nice. It's a nice change of pace for sure. I love not going to an office. I'll never be able to like go to an office and like have a job again. I'm like, I've drank the Kool-Aid, and
good for you.
Can't go back to a life like that.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
For sure.
That's awesome. All right, just a couple more quick questions here. I'm almost out. This next one, I'm really curious. As I do more traveling, I find some places I'll see the, Bitcoin accepted here sticker and this and that. Out of the places that you yourself have visited, where do you find the highest cryptocurrency adoption?
Hmm.
Where have you been to any places or it just shouts out like, wow, this, you go to some towns you never heard of it, but that's pretty popular still.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do too much traveling. I mean, especially not this year. I'm trying to think.
Does Florida compare
Um,
to Cleveland? Because as a Cleveland resident, there's very few places. I've spent my crypto at 3 or 4 places here in Cleveland, but I've never. I don't know how it would compare to, let's say, like Miami or like Fort
yeah,
Lauderdale,
yeah.
or
So I
like,
mean,
like
I've, again, this year's been tough. Like I've been in Florida only during like the lockdown, so it's not we haven't been going out too much. But no, like I honestly no, I don't see many Bitcoin accepted here stickers. South Florida does have a very active Bitcoin scene. There's a lot of like OG Bitcoiners that have located into South Florida, for sure. So there's a lot of like old Bitcoin money here, but in terms of like businesses accepting crypto, honestly, like I can't say that I've really seen too much of that. But
interesting.
also, I mean that I'm not. Then again, like I'm not like off put by that. That doesn't concern me. I'm not
Right.
because I and again, like my thoughts on this change a lot. But like I don't see the state of crypto right now being like I don't think it really needs to be that much of a payments network that is a mainstream thing, right? Like I wouldn't expect like if you're going to a restaurant, like if you don't have a credit card, like that's weird, right?
Or,
But
yeah, yeah.
'cause, like you probably have cash, right?
Sure.
Like cash works great in person. I don't know. I just don't really see the.
Interesting.
I don't know if I see that like crypto needs to be an in-person payment network right now at the point where we're at in crypto's adoption in the world right now. I just don't think that critical mass of like, oh my God, all of the traditional finance structures are all out to like screw us over and like
All right.
we need to figure something else out. Like if that happens, I think that, various cryptocurrencies will be ready for that. I think that will be a thing at that point in time. But right now it's like you can go to a restaurant and swipe a credit card and like that works
Oh yeah.
fine.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know. I'm not like so I don't know. I mean, I guess like, I don't really have much of an answer for you. I don't know. Like I've been to Austin a couple times and there's a pretty big crypto scene in
I've heard that.
Austin.
I've heard that.
But I don't know. I mean, I don't even know the last time I like used Bitcoin
Right.
or something like to buy something at a retail establishment. I don't even
Yeah.
know. Honestly, I'm not really trying to. I mean, I don't want to.
Right.
Even
Right.
if I saw it, I definitely wouldn't do it. I would just like hand over my credit card points and
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I guess that's a good point. Now that I think about it, retail, I haven't really seen anything. Mostly, at least around me, it's just C stores, convenience stores, gas station, head shops, like smaller mom and pop, where the owner probably holds it himself and is interested in it.
Yeah, for
Something like
sure.
that.
At Decent Labs, I mean, we definitely take crypto. We accept crypto as payment. I think that everybody should want to accept crypto.
Yeah.
And I think that like most people right now, unless you like can't use regular money, you probably shouldn't spend your crypto. Like that's kind of how I see it right now. Like you shouldn't spend it unless you, or let me put it another way. The only reason people should be spending crypto is if like there's no other option for them at that point in time.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to buy a pair of socks online with like, some funny socks and like they accept Bitcoin, like no, like I'll just swipe my credit card and I don't
Yeah.
care if my credit card processor like knows that I'm buying some crazy socks. Now if I'm buying some like illegal stuff online, it makes a lot of sense for me to use Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I'm trying to buy something from a store and they literally don't take anything other than Bitcoin, then I'll like roll my eyes and I'll be like, damn it, all right, well I really want this thing, I guess I have to give up some Bitcoin.
Right.
But like I'm always going to default to getting rid of my USD over getting rid of my Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I'm not really on the lookout for Bitcoin accepted here stickers.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Another question, I'm really curious what you'd say out of your experience and your conversations and your networking. Out of everything you've learned so far, who do you think Satoshi Nakamoto might be? I know.
We are all Satoshi.
I like that one. I do. I like it. It makes
Yeah,
it makes
no,
sense.
I don't know. Like, who is Satoshi? I don't know. I definitely never tried to dig too much into it. I mean, I know that there's all the names that I'm sure we've all heard before. Was it Hal Finney? Was it Dave Kleiman? Was it Craig Wright? I don't know. Who knows? I'm really not sure. Hal and Dave are both dead. People just generally don't trust Craig. Does it? I'm sure that there's people who do know. There's got to be. There's definitely people who do know. I think there's got to be people who know, but I think that just from what's the word I'm looking for? The shroud of mystery is so important to Bitcoin's history. I think it would really be a bummer if it was well known who Satoshi Nakamoto was. I think that I'd be a little bit bummed out if it was oh, there is some proof here, and now we know exactly who it was. I think I'd be bummed out about that. So I'm not trying to I'm not looking. I'm not trying to find. I'm not trying to research. I think it's great that there's this shroud of mystery there. I think it really helps the story of Bitcoin a lot, and narrative plays a lot in the growth of something like this. So
that's true.
I'm glad that the general narrative is that we don't know who it was. I'm glad that that's the answer. I don't know who it was. I mean, I can only hope that it is somebody who is now dead. That sounds terrible to say it like that, but I hope that they can't do anything to those million Bitcoins that they mined that have never moved. I hope that those never move. I hope that person is never revealed. I think that it would be sad. It would be a sad day if all of a sudden we could point to somebody and be oh, it was actually them. Because now that puts a more human element around the immaculate conception of Bitcoin, And I think it's just great that it started and there was no marketing and we don't know who it was, and it's just a thing that was a seed of an idea and then it grew into what it is now, and it's going to keep growing. And putting a face and a human name at the start of that is it pulls the magic. It reduces the magic of it a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks for that. I appreciate your insight. Now, just a couple more questions about you. Just want to learn a little bit more about Adam. Who are some people that you draw inspiration from, living or dead? Who's on your hero wall?
Wow. Boy, it's a great question. I don't know. I don't have a go-to answer there.
No biggie.
People on my my mom, I guess. Shout out to Mom.
Nice.
My mom did a really great job, turning me into a person, into who I am today. I think awesome. That, she's great at raising people and raising things. So shout out to my mom. She's a hero of mine.
That's awesome.
Let's see, living or dead. Interesting. I mean, shoot, Satoshi Nakamoto for getting this whole thing started. Wouldn't be here without Satoshi. I'm a big fan of people who are willing to take risks. I think that all entrepreneurs out there, anybody who, and that was not me. I still have a hard time thinking of myself as an entrepreneur. I was very much just a guy who had a job and did his job for a long time, really learning about Bitcoin. And I mean, God, we haven't even gotten into just how much Bitcoin, how deep you can go into all these different nooks and corners of what it is. And it can, learning about Bitcoin, studying Bitcoin for many years, opened my eyes to how the world works and really made me realize that you can do whatever you want to do. The secret or whatever. It's just you just do it. You just think it, you visualize it, you can do it. And people who also get that and see that and are not afraid to take risks, or who are afraid and just do it anyway and get out there, those people give me inspiration. Because that lets me see okay, anybody can do what they want to do if they've got, if you, some people are obviously more privileged and it's easier to do things than others, for sure. I'm definitely very privileged to have given the opportunities I've been given to get to where I am now. But anybody can do that. You can make a choice on what you do every day. And so people who every day choose to try to better themselves or better the people around them, better the society that they live in, that's what gives me inspiration, and that's what I love to see, and that's what I'm trying to do with my life as well.
That's fantastic. I like that. Uh, Now, real quick, when you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you always have this state of mind, or did this evolve over time?
Yeah, for sure. So I definitely wanted to be uh, like an astronaut for a while. I was always really into computers. I was definitely like a nerdy kid.
Yeah.
My dad, he always had a computer in the house. So like back in the day, like an Apple II. So like I was lucky that I think that he instilled my love of technology. Is that
That's sweet.
or I just like I loved that there was a computer and I loved using it and doing stuff on it. And so that was always kind of like that was always my natural path. I think I don't think that I've ever given too much thought around like what else I could be doing. I've always I don't know. I'm one of those people who just like doesn't. I'm just like I'm very much like a go with the flow kind of guy, and so I've always like been interested in computers. And like when I was in high school, I was just like playing with computers and tinkering with computers and learning how to like be good at using them. And then it's time for college, and it was like, what are you going to study? And I was like, I don't know, computer science, I guess, And so I went there and I did a computer science program. Got a programming job after school, and it was always very much just like it's what I'm doing, and I was never dissatisfied with it. It's always been interesting to me. Like I'm a great programmer. I'm really good at like thinking through how to build software systems and then doing it, delivering. So like it's just because I've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
I've never like thought and changed career path. I'm very much like I've been building software for a long time, and I probably will for a long time. So, yeah, I think that, I don't know, does that answer the question? I guess,
Yeah,
I've
100%, yeah.
been into computers for a while, and I've been doing it, and I've gotten
cool.
really good at it, Spend a lot of time doing something, you get really good at it.
That's awesome. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I got last one here for you. If you had a one-way ticket and you could either go visit the moon, which I'm taking this variant, or you could visit the deepest part of the deepest ocean, where would you be drawn? Would you be drawn up? Would you be down?
I think I would go to the moon. Yeah, for
All
sure.
right.
I mean, the crypto trope, absolutely, we're going to the moon. But I think
Yeah.
I would love to look back and see Earth. I think I would like to go to the moon so I could look at Earth and just like see the whole thing at once and just realize, I don't know, I think that'd be a really powerful experience just to see like all of humanity has happened right there on this thing that I can see in my viewport right now. I think it would be really, I don't know, just like it would make me feel small or make me feel big, or I'm not really sure how it would make me feel, but I think that would be really cool just to like look at the Earth and see the whole thing from my own two eyes.
That's awesome.
So I think going to the moon would be cool.
That's great. Maybe one day, huh?
Yeah.
So, Adam, I know we went a little overboard here on time, but thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate an opportunity to get you on the spotlight and hear a little bit from your perspective. Dude, it is so unique. There are very few people who walk this planet who can share their ideas, who have experienced things that you've experienced and worked on projects that you've worked on. And the perspective that you gain from these collective of ideas and these experiences, and the networking, I mean, it's irreplaceable. So to catch your voice at this moment of time is so amazing. I am very grateful that someone like you is building on blockchain and not some ultra authoritarian figure who just wants to control everybody and make the most censorship projects ever. To have someone who believes in freedom, believes in options, believes in choice. You're on the front line, and I wouldn't have it any other way myself. So again, thank you very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and hopefully we catch up again here soon.
Riley, thank you so much. Thank you for your enthusiasm.
By all means.
I've enjoyed this conversation a lot. Thanks for having me on the show. And I'll talk to you later, man.
All
See you
right.
on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. Take care, Adam.